When you imagine the subjects you study in school, typically math, science, English, and history come to mind. Here at Veritas, we receive a classical education that focuses on the liberal arts, but not every art is covered liberally. Currently, music education is only required in 5th grade, when students are given a choice to take either music appreciation, percussion, or choir. After that, there are only a few music electives that count as fine art credits. Personally, I've been in the drumline since the 6th grade, and I've thoroughly enjoyed every practice and performance. We've always played at home football games, most school-wide assemblies, and several years ago, we used to even march the Chewies Day Parade. The skills I acquired in drumline could transfer to other instruments, which boosted my overall understanding and proficiency in music. In this day and age, it seems to be common opinion that fine arts aren't as important as core subjects. But even Plato said, music is moral law. It gives soul to the universe, wings to the mind, flight to the imagination, and charm and gaiety to life and to everything. In his Republic, he writes, "For these reasons, education in music is most sovereign, because rhythm and harmony, most of all, penetrate into the inner region of the soul. He who is reared as he ought to be in this realm will have the sharpest sense for things left out, and things which are not beautiful products of craft or nature. And then, having the right dislikes, he will praise beautiful things, delighting in them and taking them into his soul." Music affects the brain in many ways, stimulating both the right and the left hemispheres differently. Each side processes information differently, but they don't operate independently. The left side is more analytical and methodical, whereas the right side is more creative and intuitive. Most people would think you only use the creative side of the brain for music, but scientific research shows that the average musician uses the creative traits of the right side of the brain as well as the analytical traits of the left side of the brain. The right side focuses more on the melody of the music, while the left side focuses more on understanding musical structure and motor skills, like muscle memory. Both sides have to work together to create concordant sounds, and to develop proficiency in an instrument. Music education at many other schools takes the form of band, orchestra, or choir. A school band typically consists of percussion, woodwind, and brass instruments, while an orchestra usually has different stringed instruments, and a choir hardly ever has instruments other than vocal cords. Learning to play an instrument is no easy task and can take years to master. According to a survey taken by the National Association Music Merchants and the Gallup Organization, a survey with 1,005 respondents, 96% of those respondents believed that that their school band was a good way to develop leadership skills. 95% said that music is critical to a well-rounded education. 93% felt that their school should offer how to instruct an instrument as part of the curriculum. And 85% believed that participating in a school music program corresponded with better grades. The 1,005 respondents were simply random US consumers aged 12 and up on over-the-phone interviews. And it's true that these are only opinions, but the facts that these opinions are based on are supported by scientific research. And due to that research, I believe that music at Veritas, music education should not be required for only 1 year, but it must be required throughout middle school in the form of band, orchestra, or choir throughout middle school, while being offered to high school as well. And there are 3 major reasons for this. First, studying and playing music leads to greater academic success. Second, there are many physical and mental health benefits that would be incredibly useful to young students. And finally, students who study and play music have improved creative thinking, leadership, and collaborative skills. Students who study and play music have greater academic success than those who don't in regards to test scores and IQ. A study done in 2006 by Christopher Johnson, a professor of music education and music therapy at the University of Kansas, researched the correlation between music education and academic success. His results showed that students from schools with higher quality music programs scored 22% higher in English and 20% higher in math on standardized tests, compared to students from schools with lower quality music programs. His research included students from various ranges of socioeconomic statuses, and the results were impartial. He notes that Participating in a good band program won't directly improve a student's English or math test scores, but there seems to be a strong relationship between a quality education in music and improved scores on standardized tests. Johnson notes that the focus and concentration required for music is similar to the focus and concentration needed to excel academically. Donald A. Hodges and Deborah S. O'Connell from the University of North Carolina at Greensboro conducted a study for a chapter in their book on academic achievement. The question they were trying to answer was, what is the impact of music education on, or participation in music education on academic achievement? While the research didn't show a direct correlation between music and improved reading abilities in children, the research did show a prominent correlation between music and math skills. A group of preschool children involved in a music program scored higher on a math test than the group that was not involved in the music program. A separate 2-year investigation, in the investigation, a group of elementary school students not involved in a music and visual arts program initially had higher test scores than the students starting the program that year. After only 7 months, the test scores of the students who had started the program surpassed the test scores of the students not involved in the program. By the end of the 2 years, the students who had studied music and the visual arts had significantly higher test scores than the students who did not participate in the program at all. Penn State University conducted an experiment in 2015 with 144 6-year-olds taking keyboard, vocal, or drama lessons, or none at all. The purpose of the experiment was to discover how the children's IQ was affected, then to compare the results to before the lessons and after. It was discovered over the course of the experiment that the average increase of IQ in the students taking keyboard or vocal lessons was slightly greater than of those taking drama or no lessons. And although the increase of intelligence isn't extremely high, it's still an increase, and we should want every advantage for our students. While IQ doesn't measure creativity, curiosity, emotional readiness, or any sort of practical intelligence, it is a measurement of problem solving and logic skills. These academic advantages of improved IQ and test scores could be given to Veritas students, provided that music education becomes required in the curriculum. In addition to academic advantages, there are many physical and mental health benefits of studying and playing music. Molly Warren, who specializes in working with people with backgrounds of neglect or other behavioral disorders, as well as people who have experienced trauma, wrote an article for the National Alliance on Mental Illness about how music therapy affects mental health. At the end of the article, she writes about working with a particular child. In our first session, she says, we decided to take a look at the lyrics of Carry On by Fun. I asked him what it meant to be a shining star, which is mentioned several times in the song. I was expecting this 8-year-old to say something like, it means you're special, but he surprised me when he said, it means you're something others notice, something to look up to, something that helps others navigate. And just like that, this lyric offered the opportunity to discuss self-worth, resilience, and strength. Music provided him the structure and the opportunity to engage to process in an engaging way. A band, orchestra, or choir will compel participating students to analyze music further than they ever have before. This can give them an early platform to grow emotionally and to improve their social skills. North Shore University Health System, a healthcare delivery organization from Chicago, lists several health benefits of music. First on the list is that it's heart healthy, as listening to music reduces heart rate, it can lower blood pressure, decrease stress hormone levels, and increase serotonin and endorphin levels in the blood. Next, music elevates mood and reduces stress, which are huge factors in a student's academic success. And I didn't intend for that to rhyme, but here we are. North Shore says that that music increases the brain's production of hormone dopamine. This increased dopamine production can relieve feelings of anxiety and depression. Music is processed directly by the amygdala, which is the part of the brain involved in mood and emotions. The list also includes that music relieves symptoms of depression, stimulates memories, manages pain, eases pain, helps people eat less, and can even increase workout endurance. We all know the endurance and productivity boost we get when we listen to music while working or exercising. And North Shore's list shows just how effective music can be on the body. These effects would be useful to everybody. And Veritas students would receive those benefits more through music education if it becomes a larger part of the curriculum. Music is also effective with students outside of school, with improved creative thinking, leadership, and collaborative skills. The National Science Foundation is a government agency that advocates the research and education of non-medical fields of science and engineering. And their website explores the correlation between music and creativity. Parag Kordia, the director of the Music Intelligence Lab at Georgia Tech, writes in his article, how can we use music to think about scientific problems? How can we use music to sort of catalyze our thinking in other areas? Is creativity just the gift of a few, just sprinkled on a few people, and that's it? I would argue no, that creativity is something that we all have inside of us. And it's all about finding out, how do we unlock that creativity? He uses electroencephalograms and functional magnetic resonance imaging to investigate whether real-time creativity, like improvisation in jazz music, uses the brain differently. The article explains, brain scans show a distinct difference when a musician is playing composed music versus when they are improvising. Kordia found that the creativity found in music is similar to that of languages. He compares the building blocks of melodies and the patterns in music to syllables and words. At the college level, he says, students who have access to music programs are much more likely to graduate because it increases retention. And people have, in terms of early learning, shown that exposure to music at a young age, intensive exposure, does improve cognitive outcomes. By cognitive outcomes, he simply means memory, problem-solving skills, and other intellectual improvements like the ones I mentioned earlier. Advance Ed, an organization that accredits primary and secondary schools, has an article entitled "The Importance of Music Education." While talking about the community within her music classes, the author, Deborah S. Minyard, says, they know that they are leaders. They believe that as they build their own skills, they have a responsibility to share what they have learned with others around them. It's not unusual to see an upperclassman request to work with a younger student in a workroom to help them learn a part. It's common to see older students assisting the younger ones in cleaning the room after a rehearsal or a performance. It's not surprising to see one pupil celebrate another after a job well done, or give them a high five after they are finally able to play that difficult passage. Then Minyard asks the questions, is this not what we strive for in our communities? Is this not what we wish our students to be doing throughout their lives? And she's absolutely correct that this is a great example of what we strive for in our communities, especially here at Veritas in the student body. If Veritas students acted this way in school, imagine the leadership and collaborative skills they could have by graduation. A positive attitude and a growth mindset will carry a child far in life. But spreading that positivity and that growth will carry the entire community far. In music classes, there are several opportunities for students to assume leadership roles. Section leaders, first chair, soloists, and even drumline captain. Being in one of these positions is no easy task, and a director can remove and replace you if they feel you're unfit. I was drumline captain here at Veritas for all 4 years of my high school career. And yes, I enjoyed every second of it, but I can attest the difficulty of working with a group of musicians sometimes. It forced me out of my comfort zone to approach the students and help them with whatever whatever piece they may be struggling with. Being captain meant having a positive attitude even when we played poorly at a performance. It meant putting in the extra time and practice even when I was already swamped with all of my other work. Being captain meant stepping up, and being a leader, even when I was already tired and overwhelmed. Veritas has tried different music classes in the past, but they didn't succeed because we didn't have the numbers for a full enrollment or much student interest. Now Veritas does have the numbers and the student interest. During the first trimester of this year, a vocal ensemble elective was offered in preparation for the spring musical for the School of Rhetoric. Choir hasn't worked well in the past. The vocal ensemble was very popular and had a large enrollment. Band hasn't worked well in the past. But this year, the School of Logic has a band elective that was very popular and had a large enrollment as well. Enough students now have the interest for a music program to succeed at Veritas. And some may ask the question, why music specifically? And why not require all art? Well, there are many similar benefits to art, but none so effective as the benefits of music. There are many. In Penn State's experiment, for example, the children studying music had a larger increase in IQ than the children studying drama. There are many art electives at Veritas already being offered that are very popular, though they aren't required. Students still need a certain amount of fine art credits in order to graduate with a Veritas diploma, but that does not necessarily mean music credits. It is imperative that Veritas upgrades its music program by requiring either band, orchestra, or choir throughout middle school, while offering those courses for high school as well. The quality of education is already high, but it can be greatly improved if music is made a larger factor in the curriculum. Legends like Louis Armstrong and Freddie Mercury began their music careers at young ages in school. Though it's true, not everyone who studies music will pursue a career in it. In fact, very few musicians go into the field professionally. But regardless of what career students choose, their capabilities will be greatly boosted in a number of ways because of music. With increased IQ and test scores, mental and physical health benefits, improved creative thinking, leadership, and collaborative skills, Veritas students who participate in the music program will be much better off than the students who did not study or play music in school. Thank you. Oh, I have one. Thank you.
All right, panel, you know the drill with the paddles. For those of you who don't know all these nice folks, 3 of them are members of the Thesis team. 1 co-runs the program with me, except he's just a little more my boss, and I'm a little more his subject. And then we also have Braden's advisor. So, Catherine, you got the first question.
Great job, Braden. As you probably know, you're speaking to the choir a little bit with me on this subject, 'cause I would be very much in favor of this. So just to clarify, this wouldn't be required in SR, just required in SL and then just available in SR, is that right?
Yes.
Okay, so why not also required in SR?
That's a great question. So my thought process in making it required only in the School of Logic was that, well, first off, in SR, there are many students who already have things that they call their own. Like there are athletic students, there are theater students, and a music program might get in the way of that. There may be scheduling conflicts. And I believe that if we made it required in middle school, then they would already have a love for those things by high school. And they may not choose to pursue music in school, but they might choose to pursue it on their own in their free time, which is that's what I do outside of drumline.
Quick follow-up on that. Good job. So you are speaking to an audience. I haven't looked behind me in a little while, but I'm assuming that we've got SR kids and mostly adults. Do we have any SL kids in here?
Can confirm.
We do? Okay. So you've made a strong case, I think, for the SL kids. You just talked about SR kids. I'm an adult, and when I was in school in SL and SR, I think I took piano. Let me see if I can remember. I think I took piano, guitar, tried the harmonica, tried the banjo, and voice. none of which were successful. Do you, I am now hearing maybe that wasn't the waste of time and money that my parents thought it was, that it gave me benefits that I didn't quite know about. And so now I'm wondering, because I would actually like to pick up some more music, even at this late age, is my brain too old to still reap benefits as an adult? Or is this something truly that really get the most benefit out of it? If you started in SL, you pick it up in SR. Did you look, I completely recognize this is outside your thesis, but I'm asking for personal reasons. Can I still benefit? Can I please redeem the hours and money that my parents spent on me in SL and still go forth and reap some benefits from it?
Absolutely. It may be more effective in younger students because as they grow older, they will be developing those habits, and they'll have those habits in going into adulthood. But of course, I'm certain that if you decided to pick up an instrument now, you would still receive those benefits that younger students would be getting. It may not be an immediate change. With every talent, it takes time to develop, and you need to put in the time and the practice. It may be beneficial to have a teacher to walk you through that. For a lot of school classes, or music classes, I believe a large part of the benefits that students receive is discipline, and you're an adult, you don't need discipline. But with the other, I mean, I didn't even really mention discipline in my thesis. With all of the other benefits, of course, you would still receive those.
Is this on? Good job, Braden. So proud of you. So one of the things you mentioned, as you're looking at the various aspects of how music plays a part in their life, some critics might say, okay, why not just replace this with music appreciation? Or even, we don't have time, just add music to the morning moment or discipleship, just shove it there. So why actually actively involved in the music? Why is that different than music appreciation?
So I think part of the reason, I mean, music appreciation is a great course. I think a big part of it is the active participation with the students. I don't think students who just look at music from afar can reap all of the same benefits as the students who are putting in the practice to achieve the muscle memory I mentioned earlier. There are still very similar benefits, but I don't think those are as, for music appreciation, I don't think the benefits quite compare to all of the benefits that one would get from a band, orchestra, or a choir, although they are similar. And even this year, I don't believe any students signed up for music appreciation because many of those students decided to sign up for a course that was something they could actively participate in. Like the band that was offered this year.
So Braden, first off, good job. Second of all, it is charming you think adults don't need discipline. However, we do.
That might be the best line of the night. You're an adult, so you don't need discipline.
Okay, so Veritas is a university model school, which means at least in SL and to a great extent in SR, our students are not here 5 days a week, 8 hours a day, like in many other middle schools and high schools. So my thought is that a lot of these extracurricular activities, or even these things that sports, music, drama, and we have lots of students who are at the school because they are in high-level proficiencies in soccer or golf outside of the school, and here we provide a school that has that kind of flexible schedule. So I guess I'm just wanting to hear your reaction to my claim that it's not going to work at a school when we only have the kids here just a few days a week. Did you contemplate our model when you were making this proposal, and what are your sort of reactions to the fact that the kids are here less than in a traditional school? Or not a traditional school, a modern school, whatever, never mind.
would you be able to reword your question?
Yeah, the students are at school less in SL, and to a certain extent, although they're here more in SR, they're also here less in SR than at a school like where I grew up, which I was at a school 5 days a week, 8 hours a day. We had band morning, we had band at lunch, we had band after school every day. We don't have that structure here, so I'm wondering, did you factor that into your proposal that we have this flexible schedule?
Right, so SL students, outside of 8th grade, don't meet on Tuesdays and Thursdays at the school. I mean, that is something to consider. I don't think that would greatly I'm trying to think of how to articulate what I'm thinking. I believe that there would be ways to still fit in music courses. Obviously, 5th through 7th wouldn't be able to meet on Tuesdays and Thursdays, but there could still be pieces to be working on for those homework days. And I mean, I am not an expert in all of the scheduling for the entire School of Logic, but there are many different ways to schedule what these courses would look like. Maybe it would be once a week or once every other week or twice a week. I don't know. However it might fit with the rest of the courses. But I don't believe it would be an issue because of the way it is structured now, because there are many ways to maneuver around the different courses that are already being offered and are already popular here.
Follow up to that, have you talked to our head of SL about your ideas, particularly in starting these things and maybe learning about the things obviously you know about some things that we've tried that have not worked, some things that we've got going that do work, and I'm wondering how far you've gotten in actual trying to get something done.
So I haven't spoken with the head of SL, but I have spoken with Mrs. Stewart and other faculty members about this, and I have notes on how the music program is changing for next year. And I do know that Veritas is trying to improve their music program right now. As we speak, there are students signing up for advanced band, and I have the list here somewhere. Band and choir, and there's percussion ensemble. The issue I find in this is that none of these courses are required, and there is still no orchestra being offered here. Although I am aware that Veritas is headed towards a more musically influenced future, if that makes sense.
So Braden, I know this is a rather personal subject for you, which is always fun to be able to hear your view. You mentioned that this has helped you personally as far as leadership. Have you, as the leader, you said you're the drum major this year? Is that
Drum captain,
drumline
drumline captain.
I don't know all the words there. Okay, so have you noticed even in your leadership role other students that you are around taking a leadership role as well, that you've been able to look at and say, okay, they're doing exactly what my thesis says they will do?
Yes. There, not even just at Veritas, but at my church, I'm the worship band drum guy. I'm the drummer for the worship band. That's what I was trying to say. And there are some younger students who look up to me and who ask me for advice on them, because the middle school has their own drummer, and he's asking me for, like, how did you get to where you are now? And at Veritas, yes, since I was a freshman, I've been the drumline captain, and I have seen a lot of students come and go. I've seen a lot of students become much more disciplined, especially as middle schoolers, there's a big discipline issue. That is a pattern with all of them. I experienced this as well. And that was one thing I loved about being in drumline, because it taught me so many different things I wasn't expecting to learn. How to listen to people who are in authority above me, who are trying to help me get to a better place where I'm at now. And I see a lot of those patterns in the younger students who are currently in the drumline now. Next year, I believe that there are 11 students signed up for drumline. I might have that figure wrong. And I know, I believe, a majority of those students. And where they are now in their discipline and their kindness towards others and their overall helpfulness with the community around them has greatly improved since they first came into the drumline.
You mentioned in your first point that with those studies, by having kids in music programs versus kids who weren't, didn't matter about socioeconomic status, that the test scores ended up being the main sort of metric that the study was looking at. Veritas, our test scores are pretty good. Do you have any fear that if we upset that? So in other words, the thesis being, we're doing a pretty good job of preparing kids for tests. Do you have any worry that if we make some sort of radical changes, have to cut things in order to facilitate a music program, that we could sort of undo a formula that has been working?
I do not believe at all that it would upset that balance. I think, if anything, it would greatly improve everything that we have already been doing right. On the Veritas website, it says, under purpose of Veritas education, the aim of classical education at Veritas Academy goes beyond preparing students for college or the workforce, but is focused on producing men and women of wisdom and virtue. As image bearers of God, students are trained to know and love the true, the good, and the beautiful, culminating in a virtuous life. Students educated in this tradition reason, think logically, examine arguments, and communicate effectively both in written and spoken word. I believe that all of my research in music education and how students and schools as wholes have been affected by music education, I believe that those will further Veritas towards this entire statement of the purpose of the Veritas education, teaching students to love what is good, true, and beautiful. And even in the Plato quote, he says, he who is reared as he ought to be in this realm, meaning he who studies music education, or who studies music, he who is reared as he ought to be in this realm will have the sharpest sense for things left out and things which are not beautiful products of craft or nature. And then, having the right dislikes, he will praise beautiful things, delighting them and taking them into his soul. So I think in a lot of ways what Plato's trying to say in that is that music teaches people to love things that are beautiful in life. And essentially what I'm trying to get back to is, I don't believe Veritas's main purpose is to make students have good grades. I believe its primary function is to teach students to love what is good, true, and beautiful, and to live the virtuous life. Although yes, Veritas excels incredibly at giving students a greater education. And I believe that through everything that a student would learn and practice with whatever course they may take, that would be greatly improved in them.
Christy, she had it up before you. She had it up.
I love the Plato quote. I loved it when you said it at the beginning, and thank you for going back through it. Would you send that to my email, actually?
Yes.
Okay, so
I actually
that's not my
have the
question.
full quote here if you want me
Would
to
you
read
send
that.
it to me? Okay,
Sure.
don't read it now.
Okay.
This is my question. Are all SL music programs created equal? So if we had to choose, because of our resources, because of the limits of the UMS model, some things like that, if we had to pick one, would we get more, and let's take out the demand factor. So let's just not meet demand right now and just not answer, well, everybody wants drumline, so we're going to offer drumline. So let's take that out of it. But if you could design your ideal music program for SL, would it be a certain version, or is all music created equal?
I think that is actually a very wonderful question. I believe that all of the electives that we offer now could be absorbed into a band, orchestra, or choir, and each of those classes could be subcategories of those classes. Like a percussion would become part of the band. Students who go into band could audition for a percussion instrument or a percussion ensemble even. I don't believe that any of these courses would need to go away in order for a band, orchestra, or choir become required. Yes, what I was trying to get across is that the electives that we have now would be absorbed into these 3 courses.
And then sort of to add a follow-up, it actually works pretty well, so that's not bad. So is this also, is all music created equally? So in your research, did you see whether genres of music had greater effects, or or does it not matter? Could we have like a house music or 4-on-the-floor disco class, or does classical music, I don't want to lead on with my question, but was there anything that showed that a specific genre or type of music gave the most benefit?
To reiterate, you are asking if certain music courses would be more beneficial than others.
Yeah, I'm asking if we had to pick a genre.
If we had to pick one genre of music to
for
play.
For the students to learn. Like, is there, you've mentioned choir, orchestral, and band. Is that actually the best bang for the buck? What about music with a kid and a laptop? Those sorts of things.
At most schools, their model consists of a band, orchestra, or choir. I mean, not every school has that, and a lot of them have crazy, outlandish classes like steel drums. I know is a course you can take somewhere, in like house music, rock and roll class. But I believe that the music that students would be learning in these 3 courses would be very different in terms of how they improve intellect and everything else I mentioned earlier. I think that the discipline that they would get from those classes are very different than what a kid would get from his laptop, or what a kid would get from like a house music elective. I think there are many benefits of those courses, but they may not be as effective as a band, orchestra, or choir, simply because that's just what my research has shown me. I didn't see a whole lot of research on these courses that you're giving examples of.
Great. Thank you, Braden. That's it. Well done. And that concludes our advanced theses for Veritas 2019. Thank you.